Welcome back to the 8th plot. We're doing another Minecraft video, and we're going to continue building the Ark from Stolen Futures. I took a break to do the prison ship from Alien Hunter Gone Jones, but now I'm back at this project. And it's taken me a bit of time to complete the rather boring task of just filling in the sides of the top pyramid, which makes up the top section of the Ark. So you'll see from this video as my red avatar goes back and forth, filling in the details, but also creating a sort of, it's like a purple sort of engine section around the perimeter that's added to. And you'll also get to see where the engine will eventually be built. So it's a bit tedious to go back and forth, so I sped up everything and you can watch it fill in as I give you a bit more information and lore from the series. So in the last episode we ended with the Ark being captured by humanity. We had plans for it. We talked about the politics surrounding what happens when a giant alien spaceship crash lands into Earth, and then we decide what to do with it. In this story's case, we decide to turn this giant spaceship into our own interstellar vehicle. Everything is set for humanity to start a new sort of wave or a new era of space travel using this alien vessel. And that episode ended with a destroyer being detected and hitting planet Earth. So I'm going to continue from there, just to give you a bit more background and history to what happened when the destroyer came to planet Earth. So right before, we were in the middle of retrofitting the Ark, adding new corridors, adding new systems, sleeping quarters, scientific, laboratories on board. We had to fix the engines and get most of the systems back on board. We dumped a load of the stuff we wouldn't need, like the chimneys and extra pipes that were left inside the Ark, used for sucking up water from the atmosphere and from the oceans. Didn't need those anymore, it's just extra weight. Unfortunately, all the water that the Ark had stolen could not be taken out of the Ark, and that would just take too much time to pump it out, and there wasn't that much of it because we had stopped the Ark from sucking up too much water. So the ship was nearing completion as a interstellar vehicle by the time the destroyer arrived. Now, the destroyer arrived much like the Ark. It appeared on the edge of the solar system months before it would even come close to planet Earth. And like before, it was covered in rock and ice from travelling through the interstellar void for, well, we had no idea. Some people presumed that it was sent because we had discovered the Ark as a sort of secondary attack, although larger this time. Now, at first, we weren't sure that it was another Ark-like vessel. The destroyer appeared as a massive comet in this case. It had accumulated a lot of water on its journey, appeared at the edge of the solar system as a giant comet, and since it was so much larger than the Ark, we all assumed, most of planet Earth assumed, that it was just our bad luck that another meteorite was coming very close to planet Earth. I mean, no one thought that an alien race could build something what is probably something like 10 times larger than the Ark itself. So, yeah, just our bad luck that another giant piece of space rock was heading towards us. But plans were made to take no chances and fire as many nukes as we could at it. So the destroyer passed by the moon, much like the Ark, and only when it also turned to head towards our planet was the truth apparent that this was another alien ship, because meteorites don't do left-hand turns when they pass by small interplanetary bodies, I should say, small moons. I guess our moon is small compared to other moons in the solar system. But just as it passed by our moon, that's when all the nukes that we had sent on the belief that it was a comet struck. The nukes did very little damage, except the explosions did shake a lot of the ice and rock off the surface of the destroyer, revealing it as another vessel just like the Ark. It's shaped exactly like the Ark, only about 10 times larger. The world went into a panic because, yes, another giant alien vessel was about to hit our world. Now, the destroyer is larger than the Ark, but it has the same kinetic shield around it which absorbs the impact. And this time the destroyer was heading for Hawaii. Mass evacuation was underway immediately, and luckily millions were able to be evacuated before the destroyer struck. And it was theorized that the reason why these ships land in areas like Iceland and Hawaii is that it's targeting weak points in the Earth's tectonic plates, as long as those weak points are within large bodies of water. So it struck Iceland because Iceland is actually split across two tectonic plates. Hawaii is in the center, I think, of a plate. I have to check my geography for that one. Either way, it is a weak zone because, as you know, the entire Hawaiian archipelago is a set of volcanic islands created by Pacific volcanoes, once undersea, now above sea level. The destroyer pierced the relatively thin crust in the Pacific Ocean, and it's managed to spear all the way through the crust and reached the mantle due to the fact that it's so much larger than the Ark. This caused like a bow wave of magma through the planet Earth, and across the whole planet, hundreds of volcanoes just erupted simultaneously due to the fact that it's as if, as you know, the Earth's crust sits on a sort of lake of molten rock underneath, which is then the inner core of the planet, a giant iron ball. And with the destroyer's base piercing it and entering that mantle, it just it's like a ripple over, only it's underneath the essential skin of our planet. And this ripple of magma just caused all the hundreds of volcanoes to erupt simultaneously. The Ark was even affected. It actually rose a little and then settled back down again as the magma it was touching sort of pushed it up gently for a moment. Now, there was no huge explosion causing a massive crater when the destroyer landed due to its shield. Whoever the aliens were who had sent the destroyer, obviously intended to continue stealing our water, and they didn't want a planet that an explosion that had boiled off all the water or contaminated it when it landed. So the destroyer sat still in the middle of the Pacific Ocean for 3 days. It took longer than the Ark did before it opened up its roof and opened up its sides and unleashed pipes and chimneys out to suck up the water. Now, the destroyer's pipes were much, much bigger and much larger than the Ark's. One pipe managed to stretch around the whole planet, seeking out deepest water, and it was nicknamed the world serpent from Norse mythology, since it went around the whole planet. It even actually went over the Panama Canal in its attempt to seek out water. And the chimneys rose so high that satellites were smashing into them. Low Earth orbit satellites were smashing into them. The International Space Station even had to be diverted away from these chimneys, lest it too smash into the destroyer's chimneys, sucking up as much anything that could be turned into water, the oxygen, hydrogen in our upper atmospheres. I mean, the destroyer was practically relentless. And the destroyer also did something else that the Ark never did. As it took in water and air, it seemed to be processing it within inside it somehow, and it would give off huge plumes of what you guess you call smoke or contaminants that caused dark clouds to spread from the destroyer all over the planet, causing massive disruption to agriculture and to weather systems. The pipes immediately began siphoning off water from all over the planet, and the effects were immediate. You can almost watch sea levels drop over the course of a few days, especially in sort of more flat sort of sea areas. So you know that there's places in the world where when the tide goes out, it increases the size of whole islands by like doubles. I think take Jersey Island in the Channel. When the tide goes out there, the island grows like doubles in size with the tide out. So it was very noticeable at first when the destroyer started sucking up water. And it took a while for the world's military forces to gather. They didn't want to just send the first ship and start attacking. We wanted to do a massive bombardment and an attack on the ship in order to stop it like we had stopped the Ark. Now, we knew what tactics we needed to use. Airplanes dropped bombs down the chimneys, and the world's navies dropped as much ordnance as they could into the areas of the world where whirlpools had formed, where the water was being sucked into the Ark. Sucked into the destroyer. However, this destroyer seemed to have been either programmed differently, or there was even talk that maybe it was manned this time. I say manned, I guess you'd say aliened. It was actually inhabited by the aliens who had built it and was not on automatic, and they were purposely using the destroyer's vast array of siphoning equipment to prevent attacks. So bombs would be dropped down some of the pipes around the world's oceans, but the destroyer would simply reverse its whatever it was using to pump to suck up the water, and it would instead reverse the flow. Bombs would drop down one pipe, and the destroyer detected the bombs, reversed the flow of water, and sprayed all that water out, and those bombs went flying out onto land and exploded and causing massive devastation. Bombs dropped down the chimneys, didn't get very far. The chimneys also reversed their flow and simply threw the bombs out, or the bombs exploded harmlessly in the chimneys, which were so vast and made of such thick metal that the bombs did nothing. And some of these chimneys looked for a time like miniature volcanoes as the explosions happened within, and that explosion erupted out the chimney as the destroyer sought to prevent any ordnance from getting inside. Bombing of the destroyer was just as ineffective as it was against the Ark. Its hull would have been thicker to an even greater extent than the Ark's whole armour. Multiple nuclear weapons were dropped on the destroyer, which did some damage to the chimneys on the outside, but for the most part they were totally ineffective. There was a huge scar left on the destroyer's upper flanks due to an extensive bombing campaign. But yeah, no effect whatsoever. The Tsar bomber, the largest bomb ever created, which the Russians dropped on the Ark, had done no damage to that vessel, and the destroyer didn't seem to even notice when a giant atomic bomb, the most powerful we'd ever created, was impacted on the sides of its upper pyramid. The destroyer was just basically too large. Our attacks were as futile as ants trying to bring down Mount Everest in comparison. And the destroyer just continued to suck up more and more water, and nothing worked. Even something that was never tried in the Ark was the infiltration by soldiers. Funnily enough, some computer game developer would bring out a computer game based on this very mission, but it failed too. The soldiers did manage to infiltrate down a pipe that had sort of been left high and dry. It had sucked up so much water, and the sea level went down so far that it became useless. The destroyer, for some reason, never bothered to retract any of the pipes that it had sent out, so soldiers went down the pipe and made it into the destroyer. No one knows the consequences of what happened to this particular band of soldiers, as they never came back. According to legend, the destroyer must have detected their presence and defeated them in some way. There was even speculation that the aliens who built the Ark were inside and had actually confronted our soldiers and stopped them from getting any further into the destroyer. Either way, the destroyer was unstoppable and relentless in siphoning up water. And so a new plan had to be formulated. And at first, no plans were made. There was no plan that the general public were aware of that involved turning the Ark into a life raft for the remnants of humanity. Instead, it was planned and made known to the public that the only way to stop the destroyer was something like itself. A projectile so vast and made of so much mass that it would be enough to pierce the destroyer's hull and destroy it for good. And so it was deemed that the Ark would be turned into such a missile. The governments of the world agreed to outfit the Ark as a weapon, as essentially a bullet that would be dropped onto the destroyer. It would be launched into orbit, just as it was originally planned to be raised into orbit for its interstellar journeys, and it would orbit the planet Earth a couple of times, and then it would be brought crashing down onto planet Earth, with the aim of driving the entire ship into the destroyer, hopefully with enough force to smash its hull and smash whatever internal workings it had. It was presumed that the kinetic shields around both ships would cancel each other out, and it would be a gigantic missile. There were, of course, dangers. No one knew if the destruction of the Ark and destroyer simultaneously, no one knew what that would do to the planet, but there was literally no other option. Of course, the general public were not made aware that there was another option, that the Ark could be used as a life raft. But that was kept secret, and that plan continued, while the public continued to think that there was hope. Instead, Dr. Ghost and other members of the world governments decided to save a remnant of humanity, thus setting up the Stolen Future franchise as it currently stands. So we'll leave that there. A very dark day for humanity, that the destroyer had won, and that the only way to save the human race was to separate a few hundred people and send them out into space on this alien ship that we had just barely managed to retrofit. Okay, I'll leave it there in terms of lore. Looks like the pyramid is mostly done, so stay tuned for another video where I'll start building the engine section, which is right in the middle of the ship in the top pyramid of the Ark. And yeah, obviously this ship isn't completely to scale. The engine room is much smaller than what I'll build, but I'm just trying to get some inner sort of guts of the Ark, how it appears in the series, and I'm looking forward to what it will turn out to be. And yeah, please stay tuned for more videos, Minecraft videos with the lore from my books. I'm going to branch out into some of my unpublished works as well, but those books are available on my website for you to read, to critique, and let me know if you think they're any good. Thanks for watching this video, and have a good morning,